yourself?
I'm trying to turn the video on. Give me a second.
Okay.
No problem. I've made this go live, and while we're waiting for Officer Bush, Mr. Bell, you need to understand that this proceeding is not private. So I would admonish you to not say or anything that you wouldn't want the whole world to know. You have a lawyer, Mr. Rogers, here to speak on your behalf, and I would encourage you to just let Mr. Rogers do his job. Okay, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. I'm going to call the case of State of Georgia versus, is it Dawood Bell?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Bell is charged in warrant number 2021 CW 55256 with committing
Aggravated stalking.
aggravated stalking.
It just, for some reason, the charge didn't print out on the calendar, Judge.
Yes. He's also charged in warrant number 2021 CW 5.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
For the record, I wanted to know you to know that I am a Marine Corps veteran before we proceed.
Okay. He's charged in warrant number 2021 CW 54618.
That's aggravated stalking too.
Aggravated stalking. 2021 CW 54639.
And that's aggravated stalking too.
Aggravated stalking. He's charged in warrant number 2021 CW 54651 with committing the offense of simple battery, family violence. He's charged in warrant number 2021 CW 54652 with committing the offense of obstructing or hindering an emergency telephone call. He's charged in warrant number 2021 CW 55239 and charges not listed.
That's aggravated stalking, Judge.
Aggravated stalking.
Mhm.
Charged in warrant number 2021 CW 55317 with committing the offense of kidnapping. He's charged in warrant number 2021 CW 55318 with committing the offense of aggravated assault. He's charged in warrant number 2021 CW 55319 with committing the offense of false imprisonment. He's charged in warrant number 2021 CW 55320 with committing the offense of simple battery, family violence. And finally, he's charged with warrant number 2021 CW 55321 with committing the offense of criminal trespass. And before we get started, Mr. Bell, I need you to understand, I come from a family of people who are in the military and military service. And I've seen what it does to people, and I've seen how things go one way or another way. But the fact that you were in the military is not a get out of jail free card. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So part of what I was trying to say in the beginning is you need to let your lawyer speak on your behalf and let your lawyer decide what is the best way to proceed with your case. Because as a judge, I'm concerned with public safety, and I'm also concerned with the rights of individuals, and I have to weigh that. So I don't know what I'm going to hear, but I just need you to understand that that was a little bit of off-putting to me to say that you're in the military. Because in my opinion, if you're in the military, you would be nowhere near these charges. Okay, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right. Ms. Freeman, would you please swear in your witness and let's begin?
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer Bush, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to provide in the matter of Dawood Bell will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
You can put your hand down, and judge, for the record, Officer Bell, I'm going to ask him to testify regarding warrants 2021 CW 55256 and 2021 CW 55239.
Thank you.
Okay. Officer Bell, how long have you been with the Clayton County Police Department?
We are Officer Bush. And
I'm sorry, Officer Bush, I'm sorry about that.
yes,
How long have you been
ma'am.
with the Clayton County Police Department?
It'd be 2 years in December. Well, we're in December. It'd be 2 years after the 30th of December.
Okay. And since you've been working with the Clayton County Police Department, and I'm just trying to keep all of the cases together, have you had occasion to take out warrants regarding a Dawood Bell?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the first warrant you took out, was that the 2021 CW 55239?
Ma'am.
The warrant 2021 CW 55239, was that the first warrant you took out regarding Mr. Bell, or the 55256?
The only one I recall taking out is one for aggravated stalking. So you
Okay.
have to refresh my memory on which one.
Okay, let me ask you this. Do you recall, how many warrants do you recall taking out regarding Mr. Bell?
Just the one.
Just the one,
Right.
okay.
For aggravated stalking.
Okay. And so, well, we need to get some clarification, because there are 2 warrants that are on the calendar where your name is listed. There's a 2021 CW 55256 and a 55239. Were these duplicate warrants?
Yes, there was a duplicate one, and one had to be canceled.
Okay. And
So the newer warrant number should be the only one that should be used for the case.
okay, and that's what I wanted to make sure. So just so we're clear, the 55239, was that the warrant that needed to be dismissed?
Yes, ma'am. Whichever one has the older. What is the other one?
So we have 2021 CW 55256 that was sworn out on October 27th of 2021 for an incident allegedly occurred on October 17th of 2021.
Actually, yeah. The warrant on 27th, that's where I went and had to make the corrections and cancel the old warrant.
Okay. So Judge, it sounds like, just so we're clear, the 2021 CW 55239, that warrant, I guess, should have been recalled based on what the officer is saying.
Okay. I'm looking at 55256.
Yes.
And so that's the one that the state is proceeding on.
That's correct, Judge.
Okay.
Okay. Officer Bush, on October 17th of 2021, did you respond to 410 Autumn Drive in Jonesboro?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and why did you respond to that location?
I responded to the location in regards to a female named Shartina, who was receiving messages from Mr. Bell after a stay away order was put into effect, and he was supposed to have no contact whatsoever with her.
You arrived at the location, Officer Bush. Did you meet with Miss Sharnita Adderley?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Was she able to show you any messages that she had received from the individual?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And who did she receive these messages from?
She received them from Mr. Bell.
Now, were these via text messages or phone calls? What kind of communication did she receive?
Some were text messages and other ones were notifications through a Cash App of him requesting to send her $1, and it had another message attached to it.
Okay. Were you able to view these messages?
Yes, ma'am. And I also received those in my county email from Miss Sharnita.
Was Miss Sharnita Adderley able to show you a copy of the stay-away order that she received regarding Mr. Bell?
Yes, ma'am. She showed it to me in a PDF form on her cell phone, and I was able to read and observe what he was able to do, what he's not able to do, as in regards to the stay-away order.
Officer Bush, do you recall how many of these messages from Mr. Bell that you were able to see?
Several on at least 2, 3 in the Cash App, and same with text messages through phone. Sometimes short, and the other ones that were in paragraphs, asking him why he'd been blocked through video message, or why his cell phone number had been blocked, and why she was not allowing contact with him.
Do you know how Miss Adderley was able to confirm that these messages came from Mr. Bell?
The messages all the Cash App one specifically said his name. They were said from DeWad Bell. The text messages were from a phone number. I didn't have his name, but they were asking the same. They were the same messages that were sent from Cash App, asking why he'd been blocked, and he was trying to establish some way of contact with her, but she didn't want not to be contacted by him.
Did this happen in Clayton County?
Yes, ma'am.
And one last thing, were you able to talk to Mr. Bell about these messages?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. I have no further questions.
Before Mr. Rogers jumps in, Detective Bush, do you know the last name? I'm not going to ask the full name, but do you know the last name of the person that these allegations were directed towards, where she was the alleged victim?
Miss Adderley?
Okay. All right. Mr. Bush, you can go ahead. This is a case that I dealt with the first appearance. Go ahead.
First things first, I guess you said that, well, in response to the DA's question, you said that this happened in Clayton County. When you're saying this happened, what are you referring to?
You talking to me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, these happened in Clayton County because she received these messages while she was living at 410 Autumn Drive, which is an address that falls under the Clayton County Police Department's jurisdiction.
Now, you said that she received the messages while she was living at this location. Do you know where she was when she actually received the messages?
No, sir. She just called us out to that address because she had received those messages.
And do you know where, well, and we'll come back to this, but as far as whoever's sending these messages, do you know where that person was located?
No, sir.
And I know you said that there were messages from a number without a name on it, and I believe you also said through Cash App. Is that correct?
Yes, but the Cash App has names. The Cash App messages have his name on it.
And did you at any point attempt to contact the number, the number without a name on it?
I did. I tried to contact several numbers relating to Mr. Bell, and none gave a response.
So you weren't able to independently verify that that number was coming, will put you in contact with Mr. Bell, is that correct?
No, sir.
And as it relates to the Cash App, were you able to determine any sort of identifying information other than a username?
No, sir.
And as far as you know, is there anything that stops a person from putting pretty much any username they want on a Cash App?
No, but I mean, repeatedly sending messages. If your name was DeWood on the Cash App and you're sending text messages relaying the same thing, asking why you've been blocked, and also you messages Cash App, and you got one, so you blocked me from calling, texting you, but not Cash App. I'm confused to what's going on, Shartina. You do not have a new man or something. That's the only reason I could think of any of this. So you mentioned her name in the text messages. So I can't think of why a stranger would be sending her text messages, mentioning her by name on the same day she's receiving these notices from Cash App with his name on it.
Okay. And so is that a long way of saying that you weren't able to independently verify anything connecting that to Mr. Bell?
That is my way of identifying that is Mr. Bell sending these messages.
So did you contact Square or Block, the company that runs Cash App?
No, sir.
And as far as any kind of connection to any sort of payment or any accounts related to Mr. Bell, were you able to verify anything like that?
No, sir. We have no need to verify any sort of payment. He was sending a request to her to give her money, not to receive payment from her.
Okay. And just so I'm clear, you're saying that you didn't need to verify any connection between Mr. Bell and these accounts before charging him? Is that what you're saying?
Not detection of the accounts, not verified payment. I mean, his name is on the Cash App account, and he's mentioning her by name in these text messages.
And again, you said that there's nothing stopping anybody from putting any name on the Cash App account. Is that correct?
That's
I
correct.
don't want to object at this point. There's been no testimony that Officer Bush is an expert or has done some research regarding who can or how you can place a name on Cash App.
And Your Honor, if he's free to answer, if he knows, he knows. If he doesn't, he doesn't.
I'm gonna sustain the objection.
Thank you, Judge.
Officer Bush, do you know anything about the process of setting up a Cash App account?
I do have one myself.
And as far as the username on that account, were you able to select that username?
Yes.
Did anything stop you from putting in any particular name on the account?
No. So what are we mainly getting at with all the questions that are really not?
Mr. Bush, stop.
And additionally, as far as this order that you're referring to, that was the basis of the charge that was shown to you, what was the date on that order?
The stay away order?
Whichever order you're saying was shown to you. Well, let's back up. The order that you're saying that you referred to earlier, how was that order shown to you?
Was shown through a PDF sent to her from the magistrate court on her phone through email.
Do you recall the date of that order?
No, I don't.
Did you doing the investigation to figure out whether or not that was the only order in that case?
No, sir.
And so the only basis you have is a document that was shown to you on a phone as far as the PDF. That's all. That's the extent of your knowledge of the order.
Yes, sir. That I was able to read through completely in its entirety what Mr. DeWitt Bell could and could not do.
And what were those things?
Mr. Rogers, let me interrupt for a second. Your client appeared before me on July 15th, and I placed a stay away order, stay away absolutely directly or indirectly by mail, email, pager, telephone, or third person from the person, home, work, place, and immediate family members, any witness, including but not limited to Shartina Adderley. And these hearings are up on YouTube. You can pull up that date and you can watch what I said to Mr. Bell. And I always ask, do you understand? And they say yes. So I'm going to take judicial notice of the fact that I did this first proceeding and I said those words to Mr. Bell, and Mr. Bell said that he understood. That's setting aside anything else related to this case. But I'm going to take judicial notice that I advised Mr. Bell to stay away from Miss Adderley, and I asked him if he understood, and he said yes.
And the only thing I guess I would say about that is that, and obviously I wasn't at that particular hearing, but what I would say about is that there are numerous times when bonds are modified after first appearance based on information that's given later that the judge may or may not have.
Do you have evidence that bond condition was modified?
No, sir, Your Honor. But at this point, I don't have the burden. So the state would have the burden of showing that was the order in effect at that time.
Well, yes, that's true. But I'm telling you, I know what I did. And if you don't have evidence to the contrary, then what burden does the state have?
Your Honor, they would have the burden of showing that the order in effect at the time contains certain conditions. At this point, if the officer is alleging that his charges are based on an order from the court, and he doesn't know whether or not it's the order in effect at that time or not, he has the burden, not the officer specifically, but the state has the burden of showing that that order was the order that was in effect at that time as it relates to the charge. They have the burden on everything that's necessary to offer a basis.
I understand that, but I would believe that you would have the burden of showing that condition was changed. And if you cannot show that condition was changed, then the condition that was issued on July 15th of 2021 would presumably carry today.
That very well may or may not be the case, Your Honor, but I guess I will still be allowed to ask the officer what he knows and does not know at the time that he is making his charging decision and what went into his charging decision.
Yes, you do have the opportunity to do a thorough and sifting cross-examination of the officer, but as a judge, I'm trying to keep you from going off on a ledge that's going to get you to nowhere. And if you want to continue asking those questions, that's fine. But I'm telling you, what I need to hear. And if you're not going to give it to me, then that's fine.
It's understandable.
Okay, proceed.
And so, Officer Bush, the order that you were basing that on, and I think the last question that I'd asked you was just whether or not you had any information as to whether or not that was the most recent order in the case, one way or the other.
Well, I can't recall the date of the order, but I wouldn't have taken out warrants for an order that it would have been more than a year old or it hadn't been recent.
I'm sorry, what was that last part about the year old?
Usually temporary protection orders last for a year or whatever their condition was, but hers had been done recently. And the previous officer had been out to the same location for the same exact thing not long before I responded out there. So it wasn't the first time.
You said, what was the last part?
This wasn't the first time I've been out there for him doing the same thing.
Okay. And when you say that this wasn't the first time you've been out there, are you, I guess, well, no, I'll leave it there. With that being said, the messages that we talked about, as far as be it via text or via Cash App, just to make sure I'm clear, you don't know whether or not those messages put you in touch with Mr. Bell, is that correct?
That's correct. I was not able to get in contact with him when using those phone numbers.
I think at this point, I think I don't have any further questions for Officer Bush.
Okay. Any follow-up?
No, Your Honor. Officer Bush, may he be excused?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Officer Bush.
Who you
Thank you.
next witness?
Officer Nia Love.
Okay. Remove Mr. Bush. Officer Love, are you there?
I'm here.
You can turn your video on for us.
Oh.
Will you raise your right hand, please?
Yes.
Do you swear and affirm that the testimony about to provide in the matter of state of Georgia versus Dawood Bell will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes.
Okay. Please.
So, Miss Love, would you turn maybe a little bit to either your right or left? The window behind you is casting
Glare.
a glare. There you go. That's it. You're perfect.
Okay. Awesome.
And Miss Love, you currently are not working with the Clayton County Police Department, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And when did you leave the Clayton County Police Department?
I think I left about a week ago.
Okay. And before you left the Clayton County Police Department, how long had you worked for the Clayton County Police Department?
Since last August, since the 22nd of last August, last year.
Okay. And while you were working with the Clayton County Police Department, did you have occasion to take out warrants regarding a Dawood Bell?
Yes, I did.
Okay. All right. And Judge, for the record, I'm going to be asking Ms. Love about warrant 2021 CW 54618 and 2021 CW 54639.
Okay, thank you.
And Ms. Love, did you have occasion to take out 2 different warrants regarding Mr. Bell?
Not that I recall. I recall it being 1 warrant for aggravated stalking.
Okay. And was there a duplicate warrant or a warrant that needed to be recalled?
Not that I can recall. I'm unclear, but I know at the end of it, it was only 1 warrant that stuck.
Okay. And and I know you're no longer working with Clayton County Police Department, but do you know which warrant remained?
If I am not mistaken, warrant number 2021 CW 54639 should be the one that remained.
Okay, and that warrant was sworn out on September 25th of 2021?
Yes.
Okay, and so the warrant for the same incident that was sworn out on September 24th, that one is no longer good.
Right.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, whichever one, I think there was a, if I'm bringing it back, there was either like a birthday entry that was incorrect. Something was incorrect with the warrant itself, just the data part, as the reason why that had to be recalled, not the instance or the charge.
Okay, so just so we're clear, the more recent warrant is the one that should remain.
Probably the corrected warrant, absolutely.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear. So again, the corrected warrant, Judge, it appears that is the more recent one sworn out on September 25th. That is 2021 CW 54639.
Okay.
Okay. And Ms. Love, on September 24th of 2021, did you come into contact with a Miss Shartina Adderley?
Yes.
Okay. And Ms. Love, I do need you to keep your video on.
Oh, I was looking at my report. I'm sorry.
Okay, I do need you. Okay. And were you dispatched to her residence at that time?
I was.
And was that 3237 Kiowa Court in Rex, Georgia?
Yes.
And is that in Clayton County?
It is.
Okay.
Unincorporated.
Okay. And when you arrived at that location, what did Ms. Adderley indicate that happened regarding she and Mr. Bell?
She let me know that they had got into a domestic dispute of such, and that she had attempted to call previously because she has bond conditions. Well, Mr. Bell has bond conditions from a previous incident that has nothing to do with me. And that she had called before because he's refusing to leave the residence. She had called the police department before, but because of, I guess, a technical difficulty on the court's end or the system's end, they couldn't view that there was a stay away order in place. She did present to me the bond conditions where it plainly stated that they were bond conditions for Mr. Bell to stay away from Miss Adderley, but that didn't take place. And I was able to call down to the courthouse to verify that there were bond conditions for Mr. Bell pertaining to Miss Adderley and that residence.
And were you in fact able to confirm that, Ms.
Yes,
Love?
ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
What did Ms. Adderley tell you that Mr. Bell had been doing?
She told me that Mr. Bell had been just basically harassing her, causing issues inside of the household, but refused to leave the residence. And while we were standing there, Mr. Bell called Miss Adderley, I guess because she had made him aware that she would be calling the police. And he called and was talking to her, whatever. And I just tried to get her to tell him to come back so we could speak. But really, it wasn't so we could speak. It was for me to arrest him for going against his bond conditions. And he told her that he wouldn't be coming back because he wasn't stupid. And then I spoke with Mr. Bell. And when I spoke with Mr. Bell tried to deny the fact that there was a bond condition in place. And I told him, I said, there is a bond condition in place with the courts. And, you're not supposed to be here. And he said, well, this is my house too. And I shouldn't have to leave my house. I do stay away from her. I stay away from her by staying in the living room, dining room, whichever room it was on my report. I can't remember because I need to refer back to it, but I can't right now. I stay in there and she stays in the bedroom. That was his idea of the bond conditions that the judge stated for him.
Ms. Love, do you recall whether or not Ms. Adderley told you how Mr. Bell was getting to her home?
I do not recall how he was getting back and forth to her home. I don't know if it was in a vehicle or by foot.
Okay. Did she have any kind of barrier or fence around her house?
No, ma'am. There was no barrier or fence, just a driveway and a front door.
Okay.
That I can recall.
Okay.
I don't recall fence being around the house.
And was this addressed in Clayton County?
Yes, ma'am. Unincorporated Clayton County.
Okay. Thank you. I believe those are all the questions I have.
Okay.
Mr. Rogers.
Officer
Love.
Love is, I guess first thing, what time of day is this when you're responding?
What time of day?
Right.
The sun was out. It was daytime.
And I know you said this was in Rex. Are there other houses around this location?
I think it's a cul-de-sac, if I'm not mistaken, that the street was in a cul-de-sac.
Do you remember whether or not there would have been other houses like just around? Does she have neighbors?
Yes, she has neighbors.
And to your knowledge, did anybody from law enforcement make any contact with any neighbors or anything?
On this day pertaining to my situation, or are we speaking about something different?
Speaking on the charges that you brought.
I do not recall, although there was another responding officer who came out with me. But I advised her that she was no longer needed.
And as far as you know, is there any sort of video surveillance or anything like that of the area?
I'm not sure, but doorbell cameras are a thing. So like the Ring doorbell camera. So there might be surveillance on other people's homes, but it might be personal videos.
Okay. To your recollection, did you all take custody of any video or anything that day?
I did not take custody of video that day on my call.
Right. Yeah, that's fine. And for the most part, I'm only asking about the charges that the 639 warrant, the warrant and the 639.
Honestly, what's the last name of the victim? Is Adderley, correct? Or is it Pug?
It's Adderley.
Okay, I was just making sure because I have two cases that are similar. So I just wanted to make sure I was speaking about the right people. Yeah, so no, I didn't take any video footage and upload it to any of my reports regarding this call.
And when you spoke to, well, let me back up. You said you spoke to Mr. Bell that day?
I did. Via telephone.
And just so I'm clear, when we're saying via telephone, is this, how did you come to be in touch with Mr. Bell?
It was a voice call.
And did you call him from?
I have 1021 app on my phone.
And just
he had called Miss Adderley while I was standing there. They had a conversation, and then I had requested for his phone number, and then I called him.
And you said it was a 1021 app. What does that mean exactly? What's a 1021?
The app is called 1021. It's for police officers to call anyone without their number being put in someone's call log. So it's a app for police officers to make phone calls. You have to register with your state email address and all that stuff.
And I don't want to assume too much, but I'm guessing, I know you said it keeps you from getting logged into somebody else's, but you all keep a log of who you called on. Yeah.
I don't. Or I don't want to necessarily say I don't. I wouldn't know how to go about obtaining any of that. But it also should be on my body camera too. So the phone call.
And to your knowledge, when whatever interaction is happening between Mr. Bell and Ms. Adderley, are they the only two people there, to your knowledge?
To my knowledge, I didn't know of anyone else. Well, Mr. Bell wasn't there. It was just Ms. Adderley that was there when I made contact with her.
Right, I understand. What I'm asking is, at the time of whatever it is that she's saying that she called about, as you understand it, is it just the two of them there?
Yes, because if I'm not mistaken, her children are living elsewhere at the moment, or at that moment, her children were living other places. Because per me and Mr. Bell's conversation, there's some type of situation going on with her and her children and her family.
I think that'll be the extent of my questions for Officer Love.
Okay, Ms. Freeman, any follow-up?
No, Your Honor. May Ms. Love be excused.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, let's see what we.
Just the next officer, I'm going to have Officer Milligan.
Milligan.
Yes.
Okay. Officer Milligan, if you're there, please turn your audio on and your camera. And while we're waiting, Mr. Rogers, one of the things as a judge, when you issue an order or direct someone to not do something and the person does it anyway, it becomes sort of a heavy lift because there are contempt issues out there, set aside the criminal charges. But I'm pretty certain if I'm given the time, I can pull up the exact time when I had the conversation with Mr. Bell about staying away from Miss Adderley. And it's not like the proof has to be there. There has to be proof there that he violated the conditions, but it is seeming to me so far that there's at least beyond the 51% reasonable or preponderant standard that he may have violated the conditions of his release. And I say that just because I want to be forthright and upcoming to everyone. I'm not trying to hide the ball. But what I've heard so far is evidence that could get him there. And I don't know what you're going to present or anything like that, but I just want to let you know that. You're on mute.
Excuse me, Your Honor. I mean, I can, in light of what you're saying, and I know Mr. Bell can hear it. If I have a moment just to speak with Mr. Bell, so I would normally be able to talk to him if he was sitting beside me, if I could have a moment to speak to him about what you just said.
No, I understand. I mean, we got officers waiting and we're sort of mid-hearing.
Judge, I would not have an objection. The court is aware we were trying to work something out. And the reason I was trying to work something out is because of our communication before with Ms. Adderley.
Right.
And so we were trying to get something resolved. And so certainly I have no objection if Mr. Rogers, needs, maybe a minute.
No, I'll let that happen. And Mr. Bell, you need to speak to your lawyer. You need to take your lawyer's advice. Because the way you see things may be different than how other people see it. But I don't hide the ball at all about what I see and what I'm thinking. But it's your right to have this hearing. And if you want to have this hearing, it's your right. We're going to have this hearing. But, you can bang your head against the wall. That's your right. And you want to do that, you can do it. So I'm going to allow you and Mr. Rogers to speak in a breakout room, and then we'll come back. And Ms. Rogers, you are still in the breakout room. So the jail, just let Mr. Bell get in the breakout room with his lawyer. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Milligan, I'm sorry, sir. Just take a break. Just be around. You don't have to be on camera. But we'll see what happens.
Yes, sir. Not a problem.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Judge, we're ready when your honor is.
Okay, Miss Freeman, this is gonna be my last joke for the day. I don't have to get ready because I stay ready.
Okay, I like it.
Mr. Rogers, this is our first time meeting. I think I said it earlier, but we deal with weighty issues, so I try to keep it as light as possible when we can. All right, so we're ready to resume.
Yes, sir. And at this point, Your Honor, Mr. Bell wants to go ahead and weigh in.
Okay.
And
So-
Judge May has no objection. And what I've indicated to Mr. Rogers before is we've been in communication with the victim, and based on communications with her, we have no objection to, even though we've almost completed the hearings of still doing the bond that I had initially offered to Mr. Bell.
Yeah. Mr. Bell, you need to understand that these are weighty charges that you're facing. You're going to need to work with your lawyer so that you can get the best outcome as possible as it relates to the allegations. As I said before, as a judge, when you tell somebody not to do something and the person says they understand and then they go and do it anyway, it kind of makes you wonder, what is the person doing when the judge is not there? And so I'll say this last piece, and this is by way of just advice for you, sir. I've done first appearance for a long time, and when I place these stay away provisions on, and I always say, look, if the person that you're with lied on you and got you arrested, you need to stay away from that person. If you did what the person said you did, you need to stay away from that person. Life is too short to be spent chasing after one person or another for one incident or one issue or whatever. So please, as you're moving forward, you stand here an innocent person, and I perceive you as an innocent person. These charges are something that your lawyer is going to have to work hard with. So please cooperate with your lawyer so that your lawyer can do the best that he can for you. Okay, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Judge May,
So-
Officer Miller can be excused.
Yes. And the other
Officer Covington, yes, he can be released as well.
Yes, hold on. Let me bring Officer Covington in. I don't see Officer Covington.
Unless he left, he's the one that also had court in Judge Cowan as well as
Okay.
grand jury, so he may have already, we'll communicate as
Okay.
well. Mhm.
Okay. So, Officer Milligan, if you're there, sir, you can be released.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
officer.
Mr. Rogers, is there anything else that I need to address or deal with?
No, sir, not to my knowledge at this moment, no, sir.
Judge,
Okay.
what I would ask the court to do, because this is one of those bond orders that has to go to Superior Court, but what I would ask the court to do with the warrant numbers, the 55239 and the 54618, if the court could do an order dismissing those for being duplicate warrants, and so there won't be an issue in the system.
I will agree to that. And well, let me ask you this. What's the best way for that to be accomplished? The dismissals.
However the court wants to do it, I mean, Ms. Wesley can certainly prepare an order for your Honor's signature indicating that based on testimony provided by the officers that these warrants should be dismissed because duplicate warrants were submitted and signed.
That's fine. And you wouldn't believe how often that happens where officer comes back and says, well, I checked mail, but it's a female. And
right.
So we have to go through this stuff. We just got going last week with the new warrant system. So that's something that we're working on getting things done.
Right, and it comes up quite often too, and we'll catch them, and sometimes we don't catch them. And I didn't have copies of the other warrants, so I didn't know that they were duplicates. So I'm glad that we at least had those officers testifying, so we knew what was going on.
Yeah, I'm still working on a situation where a guy, I had the officer got warrants, then came back and apparently tried to withdraw warrants, but the officer has the exact same warrants, same date for some offenses, but there are two offenses that are hanging out, an aggravated assault and something else. And so it's
all right. Thank you so much.
They both were all processed. So now it's like, you gotta figure this stuff out. So
we are still live on YouTube as well.
Oh,
We can go.